Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back with another video from Totally Not Mark. We're continuing with this Hunter x Hunter reviews, and we're doing the second half of Greed Island. Now, there are some epic moments in the second half of Greed Island. I still feel like it is the weakest arc in Hunter x Hunter, but Gon gets some epic moments against the bad guy. Even though he's not an amazing bad guy, there are some epic moments, and the ending's cool, and then the lead up into... Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what he has to say on the fact that when we see Kite at the end, when, you know, we've established that Kite was in the original anime adaptation and is in the original manga chapter, but not in the 2011 anime version. So, yeah, that was a weird one for people. I know what I'm talking about. Let's get into this. I am really enjoying these, and someone warned me that he makes One Piece references, and I think I've been blitzing through One Piece, so hopefully should be alright. Oh, the dodgeball match is so good in this. When Hisoka teams up with them, it's like, okay. Oh, no, don't let him touch you.
Clever leans heavily on the dynamics that make this arc specifically work. Fundamentally, it's in my view one of the best endings the series itself has ever delivered, and yet, why was I left largely unsatisfied and disappointed by
Yeah, it's like you feel like it was so epic at the end that like it was missing something in the middle.
Inclusion of mankind's greatest pastime, dodgeball.
Boom. I love that film.
And so, if it's not that, then what was it? I mean, it's filled with some of my favorite shonen scene types, and I'd even go out on a limb and say that this arc has my favorite scenes from the series. However, where I think it fails perhaps lies with Hunter x Hunter's greatest weakness and a basic failure to utilize the established setting appropriately.
Right.
I found this arc to be utterly fascinating, and I can't wait
it
to
was
talk
interesting,
what I thought
like
about it with you here today. So, sit back, grab your Joystation controllers, and pay attention as I break down why Greed Island works so well, and why I feel it failed greater than perhaps any other arc in the series.
it has so much potential.
And yes, I will also make it my mission to fill this video with as many dodgeball movie references as is humanly possible.
Amazing. It was good for them to learn the techniques because they become very, very important later on against the Chimera Ants.
Greed Island employs terrific ideas and scenes.
Yeah,
However,
definitely.
they're almost always either at odds with the game world or totally unreliant on the world to function, thus making the greater world feel superfluous in a sense. On a broad level, the game itself does motivate Gon and Killua to reach its ending. However, despite this, during practically every event in this arc that I enjoyed, the events were not made better by the presence of the game, and in some cases actually were hurt by it. The interpersonal conversations between Gon and Killua, the encounter with Biscuit, Gon and Killua's training for months, the dodgeball game,
The dodgeball game's cool.
and Hisoka's investment in each other. All of these elements are interesting, not because of the game, but in spite of it. None of these scenes derive entertainment value from the medium
From the actual
of
game
they are
itself,
presented.
right, it's
in isolation,
everything going on in it.
Just as interesting outside of the
Just
game.
anywhere, yeah, that's right, that is
There
true.
could be an argument that they might be
All
more
this stuff would have been
interesting
fun
than- Now, that's not to say that
anywhere.
this story doesn't make use of the game world at all to directly impact the story.
Very
It does,
valid
but
point.
those moments are sort of few and far between, with the ending facilitating easily the best usage of its world. It's an ending that quite literally couldn't have happened in any other setting had the world not existed. In other words, if the game world didn't exist, then neither would this ending be possible.
Yeah.
And thus, in addition to many other components that make up this conclusion, it is, in my opinion, the best ending an arc has received in this entire story so far. It's a remarkable conclusion, one filled with suspense, surprise, insight, and above all else,
Because you think, oh, he's finally found...
that I'll be diving into in greater
Jing
detail in a
is
little
dead.
while. But the point I want to make is that whenever Togashi made use of the game's world to create plot points or to drive the story forward, it put a smile on my face. And similarly, every time he failed to reliably or meaningfully connect the world he wrote to the story or set pieces therein, I was left deeply unsatisfied.
Yeah.
Asking myself, what's the point of us spending all of this time
Why?
in this game doing
Yeah,
these
why?
things when we could do all of these things outside of this
Anywhere.
game anyway?
Yeah.
It just feels like a giant waiting period. To perhaps better
But
understand
doesn't
this
time
concept,
work
I would
differently in the game?
firstly
Isn't that a
to
thing?
The film I dislike greatly. Illumination Animation's 2016 film entitled Sing. This film is the perfect example of a story that does absolutely nothing to justify or make use of its setting to drive the plot forward.
Okay.
Why are all the characters animals? Well, Just because,
right.
It's vapid, lacks meaning, and therefore the film feels that much less interesting as a result. You could very easily switch out every character in this film
with a person.
for human beings, and the story's narrative doesn't lose anything meaningful.
Huh.
However, if you thoughtfully compose a story around these visuals and characters, you get something like Disney's 2015 film Zootopia. Not only does the decision to fill this cast
Yeah,
with
don't they
animals
use like characteristics that the characters that the
is
animals
very
have
foundation
in
of the
Zootopia?
script. On a fundamental
Like the
level,
sloth at the
story of Zootopia
station and
cannot
that?
work without the characters being animals. This is why this film works and why Sing, in my opinion, failed.
Doesn't. Right.
Instead of Greed Island's mechanics acting as the foundation for which to build your story upon, it instead acted as some sort of middleman, making it so much more boring than it could have been.
Yeah, it had so much potential.
Reorganize the story. Foundationally, the story of the Greed Island arc isn't necessarily about the game or what the game offers necessarily, but instead it's about what Hunter x Hunter is about. Gon looking for his father, Jing.
And he just happens to be in a game, yeah.
But I would imagine that Jing's involvement with the game and the information we garner from this game is predominantly what most of us are waiting for during this arc, and not for what the game will do next. Instead, the game acts as something that stops us from reaching our goal of learning more about Jing.
Yeah, actually gets in the way, yeah.
It's sort of a waiting room and almost nothing more. There are some fun elements in this waiting room, but none that would be unique to this setting necessarily. The Hunter exams were unique to the first arc, and those were the short-term goals directly attached to it. The Zoldyck family arc focused on learning more about Killua's broader family, as well as rescuing
and that was
them
interesting,
and directly made
that was
full
cool.
use of that setting.
Even the butlers, yeah.
In addition to that, it was so short it barely counted as an arc. Heaven's Arena is a tournament setting, and as a result, the building itself, which the arc is named after, fundamentally structures the entire story surrounding that arc, as well as it facilitating the arrival of Nen into the
that was important. It's like he had to learn to use it to get there, and then that progressed further with that, yeah.
Gon learned a considerable amount about his father, all the while pushing towards a common conclusion. Every arc got us closer to this next ultimate goal, which was Jing. But Greed Island begins with Jing saying that he won't find him.
Yeah, you're not going to find us. Yeah.
To just have fun trying to win and get out.
Like,
That's it. Naturally, more comes from this at the end, which is why I think it's the best ending this series has produced. But from a structure standpoint, unlike Heaven's Arena that felt very distinct with a built-in structure, because Greed Island is an open-world card game, the rules we are required to learn, the dozens of characters we are expected to keep track of, and the open-world, open-ended nature of this game only served to bore me on occasion and only provided a loose or
there's too much going on within it for no real reason.
All of my favorite scenes in this story could have come from any of the other arcs and made just as much sense in those with the same sort of build-up and perhaps even more tension. And even saying that, there were elements that I adored in the first half, but once the ending wrapped up of this arc, I realized it had little to no impact on the overall story. One of my favorite scenes from the first half of this tale came from the Phantom Troops portion of it. Through their escapades and adventures, we learned the game isn't what the public thinks.
Yeah, that was cool reveal. That's like, whoa, wait, what?
And curiosity over how this might play into the greater story and the real
and then
world.
It didn't.
But in the end, it didn't contribute much of anything
at all.
other than some context. It didn't affect the greater story or its progression in any meaningful way. The best piece of information to come from this scene was Razor. This is the section and antagonist which
he is
cool.
The fact that he has history with Ging as well.
Upsides, absolutely, and I will be talking about him a little later, but Razor, whether Togashi intended him to be or not, was by far the most interesting aspect of this tale. Despite that revelation from the Phantom Troop not necessarily going anywhere significant, the discovery of a particular character called Razor definitely raised a few eyebrows.
Razor raised eyebrows.
The main goal of this entire story, by default made him massively interesting as an individual on his own to me, but now that he stands between Gon and everyone from getting their hands on a card the bombers don't have yet, this mission suddenly became exciting.
It was.
Finally, we get to strip away all of the unnecessarily convoluted game mechanics in lieu of the best part of this entire arc. Gon's team versus his in a number of interesting sports or competitions. The first try, it didn't go so well.
Biscuit,
but you know
no.
what? That's okay, because now we can recruit the best the world has to offer, like Hisoka, who, with his looks just like Light Yagami from Death Note.
Oh my god.
Proclivity for small children. Let's be real here. The scene where Hisoka decides to join the boys is the most screwed up thing I think I've ever read in a manga.
It's weird.
Whether it be the paneling and speech.
Please let me know what that's from.
Getting erection, thanks to their presence.
Hey.
Whether it be the
I used that clip in a meme video I did like last year sometime, which was quite funny. Where it has Skrillex says, "Call 911 now, wop wop."
Why though? Once gone, Killua and everyone were satisfied with their new team and reapplied to play against Razor and his goons, something wonderful came to my attention. They are playing
A video game. Dodgeball, man.
Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if
Bold strategy.
Having come to the realization that the bomber effectively forced them all to engage in an 8v8 dodgeball match.
This is actually video game stuff.
Despite all the bad things I will no doubt say about him later, he is, for the duration of this fantastic sports game, the greatest villain in all of fiction for facilitating this. But all is not as it seems in this crazy world of Hunter x Hunter Dodgeball, because the rules are slightly different, and I wasn't prepared to have all of Patches O'Houlihan's rules thrown out in favor of some brand new ones.
Dip, dive, and dodge.
And all jokes aside, this dodgeball game is one of the most shonen performances I think this arc and maybe even this series has ever done, and I'm here for it. Right off the bat, Togashi does a great job with establishing Razor as both dominant and
he's
ruthless.
powerful now.
We get characters that are designed like this, with that sort of face, juxtaposing them with some vile actions like killing someone while smiling is always effective and unsettling.
Oh god.
Between the two teams, it's clear who we're rooting for, and systematically we feel the tension rise as one after another, Gon's team falls.
Get taken out, man. Like, oh no. Oof. Oof. I love it. Go for it.
Raises Gon's standing among the rest of the cast. Where the others like Biscuit and Killua were willing to concede or take a dirty victory, Gon straight up refuses to accept anything other than an absolute
victory,
dominant performance.
Absolute win.
His tenacity, his decisiveness, his leadership, and his toughness are all on full display here. Despite being outmatched and knocked out once before, not only is he willing and determined, but he's confident in his own power and ability, and he's got a plan. And while Killua and Ahsoka are apprehensive at first, they back this little spiky-haired kid 100% when it mattered. Furthermore,
rock, paper, scissors.
This scene wasn't necessarily the hype, action, and stakes. It wasn't the amazing utilization of Gon's new technique even, but instead it was the use of all of those components to distract from the best save I've ever seen a series deliver. Moments after Gon hits the dodgeball with everything he's got, Razor, despite Gon's enormous efforts, deflects the ball into the air. Still in play, Razor confidently seems to be safe.
He's like, I got it.
Right above his head on his half of the court when...
Bubblegum! The rubber and gum.
Oh my god, he did it. He saved the thing. Hisoka is the friggin' man of the series, and he saved this team in a way that I should have seen coming but never did. This was unbelievably satisfying.
Pushes him out.
To forgive him for the weird stuff that he did in the earlier parts of the story. And speaking of earlier in this video I spoke a little bit about making use of your setting, characters, and themes. And if you look at the three best moments from this dodgeball event, the moment with Hisoka, the catch, and end of the match, you'll notice that all of those exchanges are great because they utilize every one of the three players.
The characters.
Gon, Killua, and Hisoka's techniques respectively.
All of them, yeah.
All of that,
you got his lightning, you've got his rock, paper, scissors punch thing, you got Hisoka's punch gun. It's cool.
I swear, these chapters are by far the most impressive part of the arc, save for perhaps the very end, with the conclusion of the contest proving that sky's the limit for Gon when it comes to what he's capable of, and boy do we get reminded of that later. All this time he's trying to prove to himself and to everyone else that he deserves to be his father's son. And funnily enough, it's that very aspect that created some serious wounds on Killua, who, while being desperate to help Gon in any way that he could, sacrificed his own hands for the victory.
Yeah, man.
Gon took some savage hits during the battle, but Killua sustained
stuff from Gon as doing his attack, yeah.
And while I was watching this unfold, and that line about it maybe never returning to normal was thrown around, I sincerely thought this could be a scar he'll have to carry around with him for the rest of his life. A constant reminder of how dangerous and careless Gon can be when he gets headstrong.
Yeah, but when he wants to do what he wants to do, he does it. His moral compass is just, he don't care, we got it.
To the wind and places his friends in unnecessary danger. That sort of behavior shouldn't be okay, and while he acknowledges it and apologizes, I thought this consequence of the match might be something significant thematically.
What? Similar to what I did with my meme thing with the 911 now. Wow,
I do not like how immediately after the epic dodgeball match with someone directly tied tied to the main goal of the story, the stakes immediately plummet and shrink as we go back to playing the game again.
Yeah, it was a bit like, oh, come on. Built it all up and then we're back there.
I really am. But when we switch from what was once awesome to now going back to dual disc card collecting things,
basically,
I can't help but feel a little deflated. And
yeah.
Unfortunately for the villain, I didn't find him to be entertaining either.
No.
We don't know much of anything about him, and he isn't really all that impressive. He did one thing in the entire story that I thought was noteworthy, and since then has done little else apart from wait for the plot to come back around to him whenever it gets off of something unfortunately more interesting. With that said, however, there's a decent effort on behalf of Togashi to establish these bombers as the villains of this game by contrasting them heavily with Gon and Killua's playstyle. While they are on top of the world, riding high with almost all of the cards, the pieces they are missing highlight the difference and establish them as the villains of this story. In storytelling, contrast is one of the most important elements or tools in a writer's toolkit to achieve a desired effect. Honestly, I could write an entire video about how contrast and anticipation are one of the most important things in story writing, but in short, in order to bolster our support for Gon and our distaste for the villains, we are shown two examples of their behavior literally side by side.
There we go.
The villains swindle their way into getting more cards from a deal, and Gon quite literally uses one of his own cards he recently acquired that is valuable to help out people he met a long time ago in the story. People who didn't give him anything in return for his prior kindness, but he thought of them when he got this card, and that speaks for something. And now, as a result of that kindness, has a card achieved in a way the bomber would never have thought of. They gain this card because they are good people, and that's the difference between the two of them. A card the bomber now needs represents the good nature in Gon and his friends. Interestingly, during my time in Good Island, I think I've better come to terms with what makes Togashi great and where I think his weaknesses might be as a writer. Now, obviously this is just speculation and shouldn't be taken too seriously. I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but during and after my One Piece review, Hunter x Hunter was a series I was recommended time and time again, with people saying stuff like, if you like One Piece, you'll love Hunter x Hunter.
Right.
Perhaps incorrectly I interpreted that as Hunter x Hunter is similar to or like One Piece. And right now, I can confidently say that those two series are viciously different.
Yeah, very much so.
So that I genuinely think that Dragon Ball has more in common with One Piece than Hunter x Hunter does. Take, for example, this scene from Hunter x Hunter in Chapter 170. The bomber and his team are desperate and therefore attack a passerby to see if they can find anything out about their pursuer's location. This interaction serves two functions: to help us understand what the bomber is planning and to show us how evil he is.
The bad guys, they're bad.
The latter area to a certain extent. It was effective, but maybe not as effective as it could have been. And this is where the difference between Hunter x Hunter and One Piece are the most pronounced, I think. If Oda handled a scene like this, the character that was ambushed would have been a character endeared to us to a moderate extent earlier in the story, with his altruistic goals clear to us as readers prior to this interaction. And in the eventual encounter, Oda would put this man through terror to make us hate this bomber character all the more.
We'd feel something for him, and we'd have some sort of motivation for his actions.
Precisely why characters like Arlong are so nefarious and evil to us as viewers. He directly impacts and impedes the progress and happiness of a character Nami that we already know about. That's how I would envision One Piece to handle that scene personally, and the difference comes from structure and willingness to let a moment breathe. This encounter in Hunter x Hunter takes place over the course of 2 pages, and all we know about this person is that he wants to go home. Furthermore, the actions the bomber takes on him were twisted and hardly worse than what he's already done before. Now, that's not to say that I don't think Hunter x Hunter is similar to One Piece in some ways. It's definitely emotionally rich, though I will say it is much more subtle and, in a way, less willing to embrace the emotion of a certain scene like One Piece wants to. Now, I'm not sure if that's a bad thing or not. It's pretty early days.
I am seeing some clips here that I have no idea what's going on here, so at least he hasn't explained it, so that's okay. Oh god. What's going on? Oh no! Yeah, that was...
The final fight between Gon, Killua, and Biscuit versus the bombers.
When Gon suffers that injury, oh my god.
The single greatest ending the series has ever seen. And the best part about it is that it utilized and made necessary the rules of the game.
Yeah.
In order to fend off these bombers, to buy time for Gon and Killua to heal and prepare, the rules of the game and the mechanics of it are used to full effect and in
fully
effectively
used, man.
The focus of the the narrative for some time. Counting how many accompanying cards they have, as well as stalking out places to replenish the supply, this very much feels like a tense and realistic depiction of the struggles one might find in the real world if they were to play this game. What's more is when the action does reach fever pitch, and Gon does finally go head-to-head against the Bomber, the decisions made visually with the implementation of gore makes it immediately memorable, while also reinforcing the psychotic tendencies Gon possesses and how he's developed a pride in himself over the course of this story. I'm not sure I'm a fan of the latter from a moral standpoint, but narratively, it's really solid considering the way Gon is developing. Once again, the way Gon utilizes the rules and the cards at his disposal, along with some clever planning and thinking with his Nen, yielded one of the best hand-to-hand or hand-to-stub contests that the story has thrown my way yet. Even the serial killer Bomber guy remarking at how crazy Gon seems to be acting, and he is.
Yeah.
Of the 3 battles that
It's
transpired
mental.
here, Gon's is the most significant from a plot standpoint, but that's not to say that the others don't have something to offer too. Killua's battle is standard Killua affair, calm, cool, collected, and with a ton of
ninja stuff.
Biscuit, on the other hand, had something else to offer.
And that's when the prince realized that when you grab a bull by the horns, sometimes he'll take you for a ride.
Just
Now, this is cool and all, but it makes me wonder if there are smaller people out there like Netero who can enhance their bodies? Maybe he's hiding his true stature or something, or maybe there are people out there with the right mastery that can enhance their bodies to much more hulking proportions. It's food for thought for sure.
Maybe.
When Gon and everyone win the day and they get to fully heal themselves, which unfortunately includes Killua's hands, and I was a little disappointed about that.
Yeah.
I was worried that because of these status healing cards that there would be literally no consequences from this game. Nothing gained. Nothing earned beyond yet more strength. I mean,
which is weird because, like, how does that work if it's actually in the real world? Like, what's going on?
Like a natural and fun part of the group, eventually fell away and left abruptly. But these worries were unfounded, and that's when Gon got to experience the end of the game alone and chose the ending for everyone and not just himself. He goes on to celebrate and bring back the 3 cards into the real world to use, and the cards he chose were, man, they were just ingenious, leading me to come to the conclusion that Gon is the single most intelligent character in all of Hunter
He's very
Hunter
clever.
I've seen. I don't think I would have in a million years thought to use the cards in this way, and it was all built off of Gon's primary motivation. To find his father.
Dad, yeah.
Hypothesizing that Jing was the first person he ever encountered in the game when he was a child was a masterstroke. All of the necessary cards were already explained to us. All of the necklace mechanics and the means of entering and re-entering the game are now common knowledge. But it's that awareness and combination with his lifetime contact list that really won me over. Now Gon and Killua seem to be certain that they can fly directly to Jing. In my mind, I was convinced that they've done it. This ingenious galaxy brain play that could only have happened in this arc with this game. And it had me at the edge of my seat.
Yeah, I was very much like, holy crap, man.
Oh, hello, Mr. Chapter 1.
See, for me, out of nowhere. Had no idea who he was, just, whoa.
It's Kite. In my mind, the first thing I thought about was how confusing a reveal like this might have been to those of you that have watched
I was like, who the hell is this guy?
anime first, but
Yeah, that's mad.
once that set in, we got this scene. Seems like Jing had been watching the entire time, and what's more, he judges Gon harshly for relying and or wanting his friends around. God, just what an insufferable jerk.
Rah.
I really don't like him. And you know what the exciting part is? Next week I'll be starting my coverage on the Chimera Ants arc. I literally can't wait. I'm gonna go read now. Things are getting crazy, so see you all next week, guys. Thanks for watching.
The Chimera Ant arc is so good. It's so good. I can't wait to check them out. I'm so glad that we got the Greed Island stuff out of the way. Sorry, but like, it's just, for me, it's the weakest goddamn like bit of Hunter x Hunter. I think it's in 3 parts, and then he's got the other. So we've got like 4 more Hunter x Hunter reviews to check out, which is just sick. Which is cool. So we're going to be on them. I don't know how regularly I'm going to be. I might be doing 2 of these a week to catch up with the Hunter x Hunter ones. My One Piece reviews are going to be every Monday, because I am getting through One Piece so quick, man. I'm loving it. I can't put it down. Excuse me. But yeah, Hunter x Hunter, I do agree with him. It's like the video game the setting could have been anywhere and they could have done the same stuff and it would have made no difference. Like, they only really utilise it at the end and the dodgeball game. That was pretty much it. So, yeah, cool. I'm liking this as a reminder of Hunter x Hunter, because little bits that I forget that happen, like how he got that card and that, but yeah, that's cool. So yeah, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video, click the link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask for donations, and it helps go towards supporting the channel. And thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys, just all you guys, next time.